Hello everyone. During this video, you're going to be learning how to integrate Stripe's API into your code base. So you're going to be learning about Stripe's API response. You're going to be learning about how to set up your tax nexus on Stripe. When I say tax nexus, I mean setting up the location in which you are registered to do business in. You're going to be learning about Stripe tax codes. You're going to even learn how to test out your API to see if you're actually getting the right rate from Stripe. And I really hope you enjoyed this video. Kindly like and subscribe and share with your friends. Thank you. So let's say that you want to start integrating Stripe tags into your code. Let's say that you're building a platform. You can check out their API. And when you go into your API, you can search for their tags. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you several resources to be able to work with Stripe's tags. So as you can see here, this is how it looks. So I'm going to tell you about some things that you need to know before integrating Stripe's tags API. Now, the first thing I want you to know is that Stripe has tax codes. So you can just go to Stripe tax codes on Google. And then what you will see is that they have several product tax codes. And you see several things. So for example, if let's say you're supplying an e-service, okay, let's say that you are supplying an electronic book reading platform. One tax code that you can use is the TXCD, this number here. So what I will show you using the API, what this actually does, so that you can have a better understanding of it. Now, and set up tags here. So let's see what we need to do. So the first thing that you need to do is that you need to add a new registration. So you need to choose the location which you're operating business in. So let's say that I am in California, right? Or let's say that I'm in New York. If I select that, so Stripe can register for you, or you can register by yourself, or you can say that you've already registered. In this case, I'll say I've already registered. Now I'll start collecting sales tax immediately. And yeah, I can set up filing if I want to. For now, I'm not ready to set up filing, so I'm just gonna exit out of that. But now I can use Stripe's API. Some things that are priority that you need for this to work. You need the complete address. Over in this example, I'm using an address in New York. You need the zip code to be present. You need the city, the state, the street. Another thing that you need is you need a tax code, because remember what I said previously about tax code. So you can see this in Stripe documentation. The tax code that I used there was for hair services, but what I'm trying to get is this: each service that I'm providing has a tax code, so it's very important that you have one. Apart from that, in some areas, some things are not taxable. Like there are some tax codes where, let's say that you are using general services, it may not be taxable in that area. Let's check in New York if general services is taxable. So over here, can you see that the taxability reason is product exempt? So anytime that you try and call Stripe's API for this tax rate, you may get 0% because it is product exempt. Now for this to work, I had to go into headers, and then into authorization, and then I selected bearer token, and I kept in my Stripe secret for me to be able to use Stripe's API. Application here, and what it does is that it creates a post request. So it provides Stripe with the amount, the currency, and the user details. Right now our currency is only going to be in US dollars, and then what it does is that it then retrieves the tax value. Okay, so this is our response. We receive the subtotal from Stripe, we receive the tax amount from Stripe, we basically receive all the information that we need from Stripe. Now, remember I told you that there are different tax codes. In a situation where like this is going to be reusable, you can actually call all the Stripe codes from Stripe and allow the user to choose it themselves so that there can be more accuracy in the business. If maybe you are building a SaaS product, if not, you can also allow users to just select what tax code they prefer to be under, because this changes. Now, the clients, what I did over here is that I'm calling the backend, but I'm basically just sending the details. So this is what I'm using to pass the details down so that Stripe can get it. Now, let's look at the UI, shall we? So we have this over here. If I click on calculate tax, it's going to return the tax for me. Stripe was the one who rounded this over. Something I'll say, when dealing with money, you want to be very, very careful with rounding, because the more that you round values, it can cause discrepancies in the cents. So let's say that something that was meant to be $5.50 now becomes $5.60. If they do that 100 times, it can actually be worth some money. So you want to be very careful rounding. Now, remember I set New York as the area that I'm collecting tax, as the area that I'm registered to collect tax in. Let's say that I put a city like Cincinnati, right? Let's put Cincinnati, Ohio, and then let's use a different zip code to, if we send this out, the Stripe will be 0. And who can tell me why it's 0? If you can tell me, you can put it in the chat before watching this part of my explanation, right? The reason it's 0 is because we're not registered to collect tax here, so that's why you're not able to get it. So it's very important that if you want to collect tax in several places, you need to tell Stripe, right? You need to tell Stripe. I would encourage you, one API that I use when working with tax calculations is the Google Maps API. Um, and when I say registration to collect tax, I'm talking about the tax nexus. One API I use is the Google Maps API. It helps a lot with like just getting the detailed address, but sometimes they don't add a zip code, and that can cause it to break, your functionality to break. So make sure that you're using the API, but you're very robust, making sure that all these details are present. Thank you.